Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Welcome back, everybody, to the American Made and Paid Show. I am your host, Zach King. I got Professor Dreg with me. I've gotten some nice emails from some people over the past week because our topics are obviously getting more intense. And I actually wanted to share it with you, Professor Dreg. A very nice person sent in an email and have been saying thanks for the podcast, for the shorter videos. They're tuning into the show regularly. I uploaded, obviously, 2 episodes last night, and people have said, it's taken a while for us to warm up the Professor Dreg, but they like you. They like your background. And, it's good to know that you're actually moving minds and hearts. Especially, I want to recap a little bit before we jump into today's topic. What we talked about yesterday about language manipulation is key. And I think that for any conservative, any real conservative who is really trying to understand their rights and understanding what they are as a sovereign individual has to be able to acknowledge the fact that progressives use language. They use constitutional amendments to work against you. So what I want to get into today is about being blacklisted, censorship, and free speech. Because here's the deal. If they are manipulating language, at the same time, they are also deeming what it is that they want to be barred as hate speech, right? Whereas the thing is, the only real absolutes in law or whatever may be your rights as they are given to you by God and how it is we define persons and property. But that's why language is so important. That's why language, free speech, our First Amendment all goes hand in hand. And people need to not look at necessarily the surface level. And this is where independent thought comes in, because you can't really listen to pundits about this. You just have to think, right? And that's what we encourage here, is that you got to think for yourself. Why are people who are pro-abortion twisting the language, right? Because at the end of the day, they're getting you to give up your rights, give up your First Amendment rights, and then in turn, conditioning you to not value your own life by giving up your rights. So you give up your guns in the Second Amendment, therefore you can't defend yourself, government becomes your God. So it's all a progression, right? But conservatives need to be able to look at speech and be able to discern the differences, because a lot of conservatives will go, well, I'm loyal to the Republican Party. I'm loyal to the right. We need to understand that a true conservative is going to look at this and go, progressivism has no political affiliation, right? Progressivism, exactly. Right. You have atheist Republicans in the right. You have progressive Republicans in the right who still utilize talking points. And it's the same deal. We talked about this yesterday where, some of these senators, right, have been in power for 10, 20 years. What have you been doing, right? And did you just come to the conclusion that now was the time to introduce fetal heartbeat bills? Or did you do that because an alpha like Trump came in and disrupted the system? Because any other Republican president, speech wouldn't be the problem, right? Language wouldn't be the problem. We wouldn't be where we are right now because of who we have, who is in the position of leadership. So, yeah, that's the big topic of today is free speech, right? Because there's a lot of censorship going on.
Well, see, but I'm telling you now, listening to your opening statement automatically makes me think about institutional racism.
Yeah?
Yeah, because that's exactly how it's done. It's the verbiage. It's your words you speak.
Isn't it funny that the words you speak get turned into a song, and songs are what's freed the slaves, but the words are also what enslaves people?
But that's the thing that's so crazy. Think about this. Howard Stern, I loved Howard Stern too, because, the dude was funny.
He is good.
And he was hella street. He's 65 years old, so, he's a good, 15 years older than me.
Yep.
So growing up, you listen to guys like that. Remember yesterday I told you, the things that we listened to growing up helped us become atheists. So anyway, Howard Stern has a new book called Howard Stern Comes Again. And basically, that's the title of his book. So
Funny
it's
as hell.
basically a book of all his interviews. And he has a lot of interviews with Donald Trump in there. And his whole issue with Donald Trump, like, because him and Donald Trump are actually really good friends.
Okay.
And Donald Trump was at his wedding. Howard Stern was at Trump's wedding, all kinds of stuff. So they were actually friends. So when Trump was running for president, Howard Stern did not back him, but he had Trump on his show. And the thing is like this. I remember Howard Stern, you know, when he was coming up, that was his big dream, was to be a part of the big liberal elite. He wanted that so bad, but he wasn't. He was always blackballed. So he was very, you know, like he had dudes like Jesse Ventura. He had Alex Jones was all on. That's how I heard of Alex Jones. I never listened to his show, but I heard him on the Howard Stern show. So
Howard Stern does that spoof of Alex Jones with the cardboard cutout now, where he's just like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah. I'm Alex Jones. I'm from InfoWars. Buy my supplements." Like he makes fun of Alex Jones. But no. I want you to finish your point. But Alex Jones, a few years before Trump even was considered for the presidency, he was actually taken seriously. He was on The View. He was on BBC. He was on all these places.
No, but here's my point. Alex Jones, I mean, Howard Stern treated him very seriously, and he agreed with almost everything Alex Jones said. That's why he was on the show a lot.
Yeah.
And, but anyway, so now, you know, because I listened to that interview that he gave to CBS and on The View. So his whole shtick now is just making fun out of Trump, because he
wants to be part of the circle where you're accepted into the elite.
If you know the Howard Stern, if you know him from his old days, you knew that was his big dream. He always wanted to be accepted by all the liberal elites, because he was the most successful guy in media. He had a #1 movie and no one liked him. But now everybody in their 40s now, you know, they like him. They grew up with him. So he gets all these younger celebrities on his show because they grew up liking Howard Stern. But now he turned into this, you know, big giant elite dude, and his whole thing was like this. Same thing like Alyssa Milano. Oh, rich people, because, you know, he's 65, so he remembers how back alley abortions used to be. And he goes, I just wouldn't want us to go backwards and you know, do the whole back alley abortion thing. But then he goes, you know, but the rich people will always be able to have their abortions. We'll always be able to get it, but it's the poor people, the people of color, who aren't going to have access to it.
That's right.
And again, that language, the poor, people of color. So he's still advocating, without him even knowing it, his verbiage for killing goes back to that. Yeah, we got to stick up for the blacks so they can kill their babies, because the rich, who hardly ever get abortions, because it's true, they just don't, because, like, you know, this isn't like a made up stat, but 55% of all abortions are done by black women in the ghetto.
Right. Oh, you froze.
Are we there?
Yep. Sorry, I think you froze there for a second. Say that again. Whoa, that never happened.
I know, because it was there was a glitch. I don't know what happened. So anyway, so as I was saying,
55% of black women.
55% of all abortions are done by, you know, black women in the ghettos.
Right.
55%. So, you know, if 55% of all abortions are done by black women in the ghetto, that's 45% everybody else. So the percentage of rich women getting abortions is very small.
Slim to none. But here's the deal too. And black people are only 13% of the population, and it's concentrated in progressive cities.
About this. No, but it's even better than that. The stats are way better than that. The amount of black women getting these abortions from the age of like 12 to 21,
yeah,
that's the majority of that 55%. So, and that age range of 12 to 21, all black women, 55%, that's only because if 12% of the population are black, half are male, so 6% is female. What's the percentage that are between the ages of 12 and 21? That's like 1%, 1.5% of the population. So 1.5% of the population makes up 55% of all abortions. When you think about it, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So if that small percentage of women are getting all of the abortions, or 55% of the abortions, what are the rest? Affluent people? 45% are affluent? No way. What about all the Hispanics? What about the Asians that are poor?
And Hispanics don't get abortions. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, they
don't.
Well,
they don't.
Not a lot. They don't get a lot, but they get some. But that's my point. So when you start adding up the numbers, what Howard Stern said about, because this is the thing, he goes, I like Trump, but I just don't agree with him on the abortion thing. And that was his whole thing. The whole thing why he doesn't like Trump as president is because of his stance on abortion. So, verbiage is very important, because Howard Stern's whole shtick is just abortion, abortion, abortion. And that's the cause he jumped on. And why? So blacks can continue killing their own children and decreasing the black population, because Howard Stern grew up in a black neighborhood, and he had a hard time dealing with black people.
How does his co-host Angie, or what's her face's name?
Robin.
Yeah, Robin. What does she think of? I mean, she's been his co-host for like 40 some years. Like,
yeah, ever since the beginning. Oh, not the very, but
No, but since he left that KT.
Yeah, so
station.
It was first was Fred, like it was him by himself, then he met Fred, and then he met Robin.
Yeah, Robin. And Robin's been with him at least 30 years, at least.
Yeah, since since the beginning, let's say. But anyway, but she just ignores, because
that's the thing. She kind of she takes a back seat to him, even though she gives him most of the content. Think about it.
But it's not okay. So Stern himself isn't a racist, because he's not. But it's just he uses stereotypes in such a way that people think he's racist. And that's why verbiage is so important.
The interesting thing is, I don't think that a 65-year-old Brooklyn Jew like Howard Stern is racist the same way a white progressive is. Even if he hops on the liberal bandwagon, he's not one of them. He's ghetto. But he doesn't understand these things. So as a comedian, as a shock jock, he uses generalizations to be polarizing, even if he completely doesn't understand the extent of his words.
Well, but then again, his stereotypes is how we survive. You gotta survive on stereotypes, because
I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, old Brooklyn, New York Jewish radio hosts, I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah, no, but remember now, with free speech and how you control the language, he was shunned. And now, like, the whole point is he's not shunned. Why is he not shunned? Because he's bad-mouthing Trump and pushing abortion.
Yeah.
He's uninformed on abortions. He's uninformed on racism. But he wants to be progressive so bad, he knows nothing about the history of progressive ideology. And that's why what you said just for some reason just made me remember like the Howard Stern and Donald Trump feud that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Well, not that it's a feud, because Trump don't care. Trump is president, so he doesn't care. But here's the thing. Howard Stern is, believes this, that because he really wanted Hillary Clinton to be on his show, but she declined it. And, but then he goes, I bet you money if he did my show that she could have persuaded 70, 80,000 people to vote for her, because I would have asked her a lot of questions that, people wanted to know. Like, but here's the thing, like he romanticizes, people who do public service their entire life, which isn't true at all, because she isn't about public service. She doesn't help the public. She's a thief. She's a murderer. You know what I mean? And that's what they do. Like, because I remember, like we said this earlier, like how I believed Farrakhan was evil because he murdered somebody. They don't murder people with their hands. they don't do the act. But
well, they architect it in
yes, exactly. So that's the thing. They are like they're the strings. Like like how that one person told me that I met the other day. She was telling me all these things about how demons do this and demons do that.
Dude, yeah. Because I wanted to jump into Alex Jones's conspiracy about Soros and Clinton and how they're just puppets of Lucifer. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but there's some truth to that.
Yeah, no, but that's my point. So Howard Stern totally ignores how Clinton herself is like Hillary Clinton is involved in a lot of people's murders.
Yeah, you have to be a special type of evil to be.
No, but think about this. How many people do you know that have literally been murdered by somebody?
Not many. No one.
No, but seriously, like even from the streets, I honestly don't know anybody that was actually murdered except for like maybe 2 or 3 guys and my life is extensive. So, and I really don't know anyone that was really murdered.
You want to know the sad part? To add to that, I know more suicides than homicides. That's sad. That's some sad stuff right there.
No, but that's actually normal. But okay, so with my street background, I know about 3 to 4 guys, maybe 5 max, that were murdered.
Yeah.
And then take away maybe like 6 or 7 at the most.
All right.
And I grew up in, with the gangs and everything else, blah, 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 blah. So about 6 or 7 people I know were murdered. Hillary Clinton knows 22 people. But most people, like, the normal people I know, not the people from the streets, but like just normal people, like the counselor, yourself, like normal people know 0 or 1. You know what I mean? And that one person they know, like, that's all they can talk about.
Yeah.
But Clinton knows 22 people, friends, coworkers that were all murdered. Like, seriously, I know people that were robbed, coworkers, but they weren't murdered. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why it's like everybody I know that's been robbed was unharmed.
Yeah. See, you mentioned that's where you're at. You're the type of street conservative. It's like, I've manipulated people, but I've never sought out to kill someone or harm someone.
Oh, no. Right? That's the whole point of manipulation, is to make them do it willingly. You know what I mean?
But I mean, after I knew everything about the whole Haiti earthquake, the Clinton Foundation with $750 million worth of swindling.
Yeah, no, like, but how could Howard Stern say that? Seriously, how can Howard Stern say that that's better than Trump? Like somebody who stole money from starving people, because we spoke about that too, how it's like to see somebody starve to death, it's gross. Yeah. It's not a pretty sight, because when they pass away, it's gross. But anyway, well, just to watch anybody die is gross, because it's just, but starvation is really bad. And to see something like that, and people are starving in Haiti. Come on, really? That's you're gonna hate Trump for that, but love Hillary Clinton because you think her whole life was dedicated to public service?
Well,
but see, he is the master of using words. So people are gonna just listen to him without doing any research, and that's why being eloquent is so important. But that's what leads. Yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, but it's like that story. I feel like I'm like Moses, you know what I mean? Like, I've been shocked by my experiences, and he has to tell his brother, hey, I can't speak. I need someone to speak on my behalf because my mind has been blown. You know what I mean? Because I had an experience with God that I can't explain. I need you to do the speaking for me.
But I want to jump into that because you blew my mind when I watched this in its entirety, and it actually motivated me to go tell other people to watch this too.
What?
When Farrakhan sat down with Alex Jones, right? That was the one thing that they had in common. They were able to recognize the real evil in the world, even if they were starkly different people. No, but that's important.
But think about that.
That's
Farrakhan
important.
Farrakhan is calling Clinton evil.
I mean, but here's the thing. When Alex Jones sat down with Farrakhan, I think it's going on 3 years now, right? By the way, when you told me about that interview, I watched it in its entirety. It's probably one of the greatest interviews I've ever seen. And this is Alex Jones sitting down with Farrakhan two of the most unlikely people in the same room. The fact that they're two very heavily censored people, they're not even of the same ideology. But here's the deal. The important thing is they were able to recognize the same evil in people that goes beyond political boundaries, right? And they were conservative without really having to address it. It's just like they could actually sit there and go, well, there's true, genuine evil in the world, right? And whether you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever, we're able to recognize that. And he even said, like, I don't think you truly, I mean, you've murdered someone, right? But I don't think you truly are calling for the blatant deaths of these specific people, even though he may hate certain people. But he's able to recognize that some ideologies, Farrakhan's words, where they're like, these people are truly sons of the devil and they're evil, right? And then there's Farrakhan. He's 85 years old. That's how he's going to talk. And Alex Jones is like, no, I'm with you on that.
But remember, he described how they killed his good friend Gaddafi. And it's the truth. And remember that. And that's because, and see, like, even that interview helped me understand Farrakhan. I mean, I still think he's a little evil, but, you know, but at least it made me, because here's the thing. He honestly believes he belongs to those people down in Sudan or down in Libya.
Well, he's part of that whole pro-Black Africa movement, you know, so he sees it differently than, say, an African American here. Farrakhan is for a Black type of nation state empowerment, right? So he's gonna look to our roots. He's gonna be like, oh, people should go back to Africa, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. But then at the same time too, remember, like, well, my point was this: he's tribal. So when he says kill all these evil people or they should be destroyed, he was saying, like, he's not going to do it, but God will do it. In his mind, his God, whoever that God may be,
Allah.
Yeah, but I don't know, like...
I don't even think I've ever heard him say Allah. I think he just says...
No, because he says the God of Abraham. He believes the God of Abraham is...
That would be the Jewish God if he was looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah, but that's what he thinks. Like, Farrakhan believes that's, like, that... I don't know, like, that's the thing. It's like, man, that's why language is so important, but...
Yeah, you're absolutely
Farrakhan's mind, the Muslim people are going to be protected by the God of Abraham, you know, who they call Allah, because Muhammad gave him more knowledge than after Moses or something like that.
Well, that's where, I mean, Islam is a bit different, right? For me, what I was taught, I could be wrong about this, but the big fundamental thing that our ideologies disagree with, like Judaism and Islam and Christianity, God the Father is the same God for all people, right? But Jesus Christ is where the three disagree with. That's the primary thing. Like, Christians believe Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus here is, you know, your road to salvation, all that kind of stuff. Judaism is different, right? Judaism, I'm not versed in it. I don't know what they believe. I don't even think some of these guys believe in circumcision. But what I'm trying to say,
did you believe? No, hold on. But did you watch that video I sent you about that 3-year-old girl quoting the? Yeah, I think I know I sent it to you. You didn't watch it, but that girl. She's 3 years old. They're indoctrinating her in Islam. So even she knows that this is how they're taught. Muslims are taught that the Jews are the enemy, Christians are confused, and, you know, Muslims are the chosen ones. That's what they believe. But, you know,
I thought Jews believe they're the chosen ones.
No, but yeah, I know that. But the way the Muslims believe it, that the Jews are the enemy of the people, and Christians are confused, and the Muslims are the chosen ones. And then obviously the Jews think they're the chosen ones, and we just don't know what we're talking about. And then obviously Christians believe that everybody's going to go to heaven if they just believe in Jesus. So
it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing is. But think about the tribalism behind Judaism and Islam, right? I mean, Christianity, there's no real requirement other than faith through Jesus Christ. That's what we believe in.
But the other thing too, you got to remember, Jesus says to preach it to all nations around the world, or something like that. So, and that was the whole thing, and that's the thing. I believe
MLM.
Yeah, well, see, it's. But I'm telling you now, it's. That's why I tend to believe that how Jesus thought and knew about the Bible and the Word of God.
He was the Word of God. Jesus was the Word of God.
Yeah, so, and it has to be the most correct because he is correct. Because that's how, if you really want world peace and everything to work out, everybody has to share. Because that's the whole point. It's like the reason why there's always wars and this and that is because not everybody had the same goods. Not everybody had a way to prosper.
And they didn't negotiate.
Well, think about that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so if people are suffering, somebody's gonna try to end that suffering, and the only way to end that suffering is to
with a knife, with a sword.
Yeah, you gotta take it.
You gotta take it.
If you go willingly to other people's lands and teach them how to be successful, well, then they're gonna less likely go to war with you.
And the thing is, they also don't feel indebted to you. If anything, they elevate you. That's how it works. That's why we got to do that.
Yeah, no, but I'm telling you now, it's crazy, but it's all language. It really is.
It is language.
It's all language. All of this.
That's why
language.
Our First Amendment and the way people construe what they deem as constitutional or unconstitutional based on so-called speech or hate speech is complete garbage. People who need to think for themselves have to understand that the bottom line here is not whether speech is constitutional or not. All speech is constitutional. Let's get that through everyone's heads here. All speech, regardless of how you define it. I mean, the Supreme Court doesn't even recognize hate speech. What is hate speech? No one believes in that unless you're a lib. But that's what I'm saying. Because here's the thing. If you feel like certain types of speech can be deemed unconstitutional, that would be like saying anything that you say, as long as it makes me feel bad or out of shape. Like you could say the 49ers are a kick-ass football team, and someone could say, no, Oakland Raiders forever, and be like, well, that's offensive, that is unconstitutional. So when everybody, regardless if you're a progressive or conservative, if everyone in the United States everyone under God's law can agree that speech, no matter what, is constitutional, you have a right to it, that's the first step. I don't even want to dive into the other aspects, because think about it. This goes back to the Bible. If you can share the gospel with all nations of the world, right, and not actions, focus on this for a second. Speech is constitutional. That whole world peace thing that you were talking about is actually attainable, because you need speech in order for actions to take hold, right? Or you can have actions be the guiding light and then speech be what guides it. But the minute somebody decides it's unconstitutional and you're not heard, means that it doesn't even have its ability to come to fruition. And that's how progressives control our laws. They regulate language. They make sure you don't even get a say in it, and therefore it doesn't get spoken of. And in fact, what they do is they do the opposite. They actually go as far as to deplatform. That's why Alex Jones is the most banned person on the planet.
No, but remember this. What you said is exactly right. Like, focus on what you just basically said. You said that they control you through the speech, right? And so here's the other thing. Well, how do they stop somebody from using their own speech? See, that's the thing. And that's when institutional racism comes in. Remember, institutional racism is a historic practice of any government agency, federal, state, local, or corporation, or individual wielding power under state authority for the public benefit or the public convenience to the denial of civil rights against African Americans and Chinese Americans through developing laws and enacting said laws through the administrative process that usurp the Constitution. The First, Fourth, Fifth, 13th, 6th Amendment, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done.
That's you hit the nail on the head right there.
Administrative policies is how they take away your voice.
That's right.
They control the speech, but through institutional racism, they take away the little guy's ability to fight back through speech. That's how you have to do it. If there is no other way, if you want to control people, you got to control
what they say. That's where it starts.
And the thing is like this, the Constitution allows us free speech, but guess what? The administrative process can stop you. Because, how hard is it to get a journalist pass? Like, you and I can go ahead and start a newspaper. We can go to start a Phoenix newspaper. But will we be able to get journalist credentials? And the answer is no, because the administrative process is so difficult.
I know, and there's some fascism behind that now. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. So we won't be able to get it. We won't. We should, but we won't. because they don't want us to ever print out the truth. They want to control how we speak. And this platform is like the best way. Like the internet kind of, like the invention of the internet kind of helps, fight institutional racism. But guess what? Now they are banning conservative voices. Why? Because they know all the conservatives are, it's kind of like back to the slavery days.
Yeah.
It was the Christian songs that freed the slaves. And if Christianity and conservatism are like one and the same, and it's conservative thought that's going to help, the African Americans here get out of poverty, and nobody gets to hear it anymore. Because look, where can you hear conservative, real conservative thought? On the radio? Not really.
Not really.
Because who's doing it? Nobody. The only guy that was honest to God conservative voice was Savage, but
he's fading out. Someone's got to,
Yeah, because he's old. You know what I mean? He's an old guy. He's 70 something, like 77, and
the only other person worthy of taking that spot, which now is not the case. Now it's Shapiro, but it has to be someone like Alex Jones. Alex Jones would have been the right, but Alex Jones, unfortunately, here's the problem, right? I love Alex Jones. People look at Alex Jones and they think that it's his theatrics, right? The theatrics gets in the way of what he's actually saying, and so people can't go beyond, because he's entertaining, but people can't go, actually what he's saying is true. There's not, like, honestly, there's nothing actually false, unless sometimes he'll make really, really exaggerated claims, which if you're a guy with a brain, that's not what he means. He's making an analogy here, but a lot of the stuff is not wrong. And
I don't know much about what he says to honestly give an opinion, but I do know something about the gay frogs that he was talking about.
I want to hear this.
No, but okay, so he made this claim that some chemicals were turning frogs gay.
Right, in the water, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's not what he said, but he was right. This chemical in the water was making those frogs gay. And it was funny because some other people said the exact same thing. Yeah. And because it came from the left, they were like, "Oh wow, oh," and they took it all seriously.
Amazing, they're turning gay.
Well, because the thing is, it's like I mean, it's I don't want to get into that chemical in that study, but it wasn't like they were turning gay. They just weren't reproducing, and the male stayed with the males, and whatever, and so they weren't doing anal or nothing like that. It was just, and so in theory, because they weren't mating and they were only with other men, they just said it was gay. You know what I mean? But
he's not wrong when he says that.
Yeah, so he wasn't wrong, and that's why people always laugh. Oh, what about the gay frogs? And then they go, he's right. It's
that's funny.
But it's not gay. But when people think gay, they think anal sex all of a sudden. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's not really what gay means.
They just weren't reproducing. They're hanging out with men.
Yeah, and they were just hanging out with other males, and because I heard a lot of people say things like this. Like, I remember Adam Carolla goes, "I'd be gay if they weren't if it wasn't drama," because he goes, you're just hanging out with your buddy, watching TV, feeling a little horny. Hey, come on, do me a reach around or something.
Adam Carolla actually said that. That's funny.
Yeah, and he goes, but gay guys can do it. It's all about drama and all this other stuff. It's like, come on, that's the whole beauty of being gay. It's like, just the sex you want, whenever you want, drama free, but they have to be drama and this and that. Is like, he goes, and then Dr. Drew I forgot what Dr. Drew said, but he just laughed and he goes, I don't know. And he goes, maybe there are guys like that, I just don't know. And because there's not enough evidence to suggest otherwise, but anyway, back to language. But yeah, it's the inability for the poorest of the poor to express what they're saying in a free manner and have other people listen to them. It has been stifled for a very long time. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. Because honestly, with the internet, you would honestly believe that it would get better. Like a lot of people would have a bigger platform. Because, for example, I know you know this girl, Joy Vila, right? So someone like her who gets invited to the Grammys, right?
Yeah.
And she wears these wild outfits that, that says Trump this and, like pro-Trump. How does she not have a big giant platform? You know what I mean? Her platform is minuscule. But because she's black and conservative, they will stop her voice. Why? Because she might stumble upon what the real meaning of institutional racism is. And if she tells people what it is, and I'll say it again, just so people could honestly know, because they really have to know this. If someone like Joy Vila honestly understood, well, I'm not going to get into institutional racism definition again, but if she understood what it is, can you imagine all the people she could reach and touch and actually change?
Yeah.
Because she's just like Candace Owens,
right. Well, it's surface level, right? It's like you're not dangerous enough yet because you're not on the right. You're talking about pro-Trump.
No, they want that. See, they want. Okay, so here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that they're gonna turn Joy Vila into a Candace Owens, because that's what they want. See, because Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
And she told a very telling story that like when I say it, people go, dude, you sound like Alex Jones, because I'm not a congressman. So how would I know? And I said, because I know people, I know, like, we know Congress people, we know a lot of people, and senators, Congress people, we get a lot of calls from everybody. So I know what happens behind closed doors, but nobody ever admits it in public. But Tulsi Gabbard did. She said on the third day after she was elected, all the Democrats were put in one room and all the Republicans were put in another room. So she has no idea what happened on the Republican side. But on the Democrat side, she was told that no matter what happens, they can never support a Republican bill. Regardless of how good it may be or bad it may be, they can never support it. You got to support Democrat first. It's the political party first, and that's how it works. And if you're not down with that, then you're going to have a hard time in Congress. So you got to remember, we support each other, and that's just how it works. And if and then she goes, well, and that's why you'll see Republicans have a bill, and then we say no, but then we'll come up with the exact same bill, and then they'll be against us.
Yeah.
They'll be for us because we proposed it and they did it. And that's just, and then she goes, I'm just assuming that the same thing happened and they were told the same thing. And we were separated by groups. So if you're an independent, you're not going to make it because you're just alone. No, think about it. If Jesse Ventura would have been a senator or a congressman, where's he going to go? Where does Joe Lieberman is no longer in Congress, I don't think, but where does he go? But then he's a senior member, so he doesn't care. And that's why he was able to leave the Democrat Party, because he could do his own thing.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like if you're a new person, like AOC, that's why, like, I got it, because I'm not the only one who says this. I know other people have to know this, but AOC has no power. She's nobody. She's just a person they let go in front of the TV to say all the things that they cannot say. Because the leadership has to always look level-headed and they're for whatever's the best for the people. But people like AOC and like the crazies out there.
Yeah.
Omar and they
Talib,
they let them do the talking. Why? So that way they don't look bad. Pelosi doesn't want to look bad. Nobody does. Chuck Schumer, he doesn't want to look bad. None of these guys want to look bad. So they let AOC do all the stupid talking to get people used to the idea of complete socialism in this country. And because you got to remember, when Obama first introduced Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, he was like, it'll never be single payer. It'll never be single payer.
Yeah.
He was very adamant about that.
Right.
And everybody still says that. The leadership of the Democrat Party still says that, but they allow AOC, Omar, Talib, to all say single payer is the only way to go. Bernie Sanders, single payer is the only way to go. A socialist, we need a Democrat socialist society. Blah, 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 blah. The government has to run everything. And but see, the Democrat leadership know better. They know about language, so they understand. Let the young people speak, but we will control them. And because
you hit the nail on the head. I have to interject because you're absolutely right. That's why they get these young spokespeople because, oh God, for people who can't think for themselves, that's all it takes. You know what I mean? That's all it takes. It's just somebody who can spout the language and create an environment where they feel like, okay, you know, I could get used to this, but they don't read between the lines. That's why I keep telling people.
You got to remember this, though. Why are they doing this? Why does Nancy Pelosi do this? Why does Maxine Waters do this? They do this because they're going to be the ones at the top. And they're the ones that are benefiting, you know, from the monies to be gained by this.
Yeah.
Remember, just like institutional racism, why do people engage in institutional racism? They do it for financial gain or political favor. Some type of power is granted to them. And it's the same thing with why are they controlling everybody's speech? Because the people who are doing the controlling, they control the money. Yeah. They control where the money goes. And obviously, they're going to line their own pockets.
Well, that's the idea. Yeah. And 2 weeks ago, we saw one of the biggest conservative purges online in a long time. You know, Farrakhan, Loomer, all that. I know we talked about it a bit, but people say it's because it's leading up to the 2020 elections. But I really just think that this is just going to get worse where they control the language. They control the speech because language is not just about, oh, well, you speak English, I speak English. No, you'd be stupid. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about
ideas. Language controls information.
That's what I'm saying. Information gets distributed through speech. It does, like people think, oh, no, I could read a book. Actually, what do 90% of people now do? They listen. They actually don't read. No. But people don't read. They listen. So if you take someone's point of view out of the table, right? Say we're at a round table, everyone's talking about different ideas. Say you just remove the red guys as opposed to the blue guys. So you have an echo chamber, right? And dude, I've been in conservative echo chambers where I go, wow, my own ignorance, even in the right, is the same deal. And you can't think for yourself. You think that you're onto something and you think, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to go. You got progressives in the left and the right. It doesn't matter.
Okay? Yeah, but see, exactly. And that's why I'm like, honestly, that's what I'm like, when I look at Joy Vila, I'm telling you now, they're turning her into Candace Owens. That's the end game. That's the goal.
I know her personally. I don't think that that's the case, but I can see where how could that could work because she's like young, the token black.
But then here's the thing.
She's smarter than Candace Owens, so I will say that. I know she's far more informed than Candace Owens.
You could be the smartest person on the planet, but if you are not given facts, you can never use your intelligence. Seriously, and that's the point. I believe the people around Joy Vila are controlling the language and controlling the information, so she will never know. She will never know about institutional racism. She'll never know it. She will never have any solutions for anybody because she has not given any facts on what the problems are. So if you don't know what the problems are, how are you going to come up with the solution?
Well, here's the thing, because conservatives will say this, right? The way young conservatives fight now when it comes to politics is not even about solutions. It's about the fact that racism doesn't exist. It does exist. A lot of conservatives, and this is how they get you. I got to get this out. They get you because the left says racism exists, right? And the right denies that it exists.
Wait, say that again. Wait. I did not understand that.
The left obviously pushes this idea that there is racism, right? Particularly coming from white people and all that. And then the way they diffuse it is the right believes that doesn't exist. But the truth is...
that's right.
But this is how they get you, because Candace Owens will say racism doesn't exist. To some degree, I can see where you're coming from, but for people who are not informed with the language and don't know the facts, like you said, you could be smart, right? But if you don't know the facts, then it's easy to kind of accept it at face value. But the truth is, the racism is more convoluted than that. It's progressivism.
Racism is part of the carnal mind. It is, because racism comes from stereotypes. The carnal lust comes from bastardization of stereotyping, because stereotypes could either be positive or negative.
Right.
But when it comes to the carnal mind, stereotypes is really kinky, and that's where racism comes from. It comes from the carnal mind, like the carnal aspect of the mind that gets all kinky and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's because I
see that. I'm starting to see that, because here's the thing. I can see very easily how, if you were a white man coming to the United States, like a colonist, and you saw like some black people or whatever, right?
Yeah,
what's the first thing that comes to your head? It's not really they're an inferior race. It's sex or big willies. I'm serious. That's just how people are, and no one will admit that. But you know what I mean?
But that's why. No, but think about it. White men fetishize Asian women right now. That's like the thing, and
they love Asian women.
No, but here's the thing. But that fetish, the Asian like white man, Asian female fetish, that's racism. Believe it or not, that is a form of. See, like, I'm glad I'm reading the Bible now, because I actually haven't. Because, okay, for me, my biggest problem was I never understood where racism came from. Like, I never understood it until you showed me that stupid Romans one. Because, dude, I'm telling you, that opened. No, but that quote literally opened me up to understanding fetishes and racism, because it's all
and sexual orientation and sexual orientation.
Well, if God has, because this is the question that I always grappled with: why would God let this stuff happen? Why? You know what I mean? It didn't make any sense to me. It's like, as a kid growing up, why would this happen? Why that happened? Like, why are we going through that? It make no sense. And like, you talk to a priest or somebody, that's God want, but then no. And I'm thinking, how does nobody know this? Like, that part that because you're the one that showed it to me, the Romans part.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, holy crap, how does nobody know this? Like, seriously, like, how does nobody know this about the whole thing about the carnal mind? You know what I mean? It's like, how does nobody know? Like, that's why language is so important, because if you stop people not only from, free speech, but to obtain free speech, because look, we have the right to know what is written.
Right.
But if you withhold that information from us, that is stopping our free speech.
It's not that it's being withheld. It's that people are not thinking about it, understanding it, and then actually acting on it, which is the hard thing. And that's where that whole fake Christian thing that you talk about comes from. But here's also another thing. Remember several weeks ago how we talked about how porn damages relationships?
Yeah.
I made a video about that. 90% of people will refuse to believe that is it. But porn is the indulgence in private of the carnal mind, because it's one of those things that you can do and nobody's going to know. You sneak around and do it. So it turns you into a liar. It does. It turns you into a liar. And then it turns you into this person who needs that thing for their carnal mind, their lustful appetite to be satisfied, which it will never be. We know as men that our sexual appetites will never be satisfied, right? But here's the thing. You mess with that, and then what happens as a consequence? You don't think clearly. You make rash decisions, right? You act out of character. You don't build anymore. You depend as opposed to building. It's all related. That's why when people on an individual standpoint realize, like, I think I got a bit of a problem. I think jerking off too much is probably a problem. It's like, yeah, it's a problem. You can't think. You cannot think.
Or when you only see black women as, oh, I want that big fat.
But see, don't you think? But how can any? How can? I want to tie it back to you, what you talked about, white man, Asian women, right? The hell do you think they're Googling all day? Asian women on the porn site. It's not like because they knew anything. It's because it created an insatiable lust, which goes back to the stereotypes you talked about. So it's something that's planted there. It's something
exactly.
And then now it's just like, I gotta get me a black woman. I gotta get me an Asian woman. You know
but then in their mind, they're really saying gross things about the other race. No, but it's true. It's like,
in their mind. Because it's not like you're treating them well and going, I'm gonna build something with you. He's like, no, she's probably a freaking bad. She's probably gonna
Or no, Asians are submissive. They'll let me do anything to them. But that's that because why? That's how it is in porn, I'm assuming. Yes. You know what I mean?
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I bet you with black porn that they're all animals and gorillas.
That's
you know what I mean?
Acknowledging it, like fighting this new drug. I tell people about it. People are like, oh no, you're full of crap, dude. Porn doesn't do anything. I'm like, you don't know anything. Like, it damages you. You can't form relationships long term. You keep on that, like, your relationship will inevitably suffer.
But even more than relationships, personal relationship, and I'll tie this back to, how people withhold information. Porn helps with the withdrawal or ever getting any type of information. You cannot get information because porn has already sullied your mind. So if you honestly see black people as savage gorillas who will rip a girl in half, you know what I mean? Or like a black girl just can take like 10, 15 white dudes at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever the extremes are.
Yeah.
That's what you think of that race. So can you ever think of a black person as a normal person who could be educated?
No, the answer is no. Because it's already been put there where you see them only as sexual objects. That's why it's damaging. Let's flip this to
Asians. Can Asian ever be equal to white?
And can they ever get ahead? Submissive. Can they ever get ahead because they're submissive, never assertive? No.
Yeah, and exactly. So they're happy at home.
Oh my God. Here's one more thing I got to get in, though. Every time, and I'm not advocating for porn here, but everybody who has watched porn will know this. Every time you see an Asian man with a white woman, the dislike bar, the racism really comes out. And I'm serious. People are like,
wait.
No. Nobody will admit this, but it's true. If you, God, I don't want to do this because I'm not an advocate for porn.
Just go for it.
But Asian men with white women in any capacity, whether it's porn or even in real life, people hate that. People like can't stand that. Like they literally detest that stuff. They're just like, this is wrong. Because think about that. What they're used to with submission from Asians, right, is now a role reversal. So it's a power flip. So you see an Asian guy with a white woman, but not white women or Asian woman, white man. But if you see an Asian male getting a white girl, white guys hate that. They hate it.
I believe it.
They hate it because it doesn't make, it's like, wait a minute. I thought I was entitled, because that's the stereotyping that it gets conditioned in your head from youth. You think you're better than Asians. So when you see an Asian guy with a white woman, even though you're like, well, I'm not a racist, inside it pisses you off. We know, like, this has happened where I've been in a relation, like dating a white woman, and literally some white guy thinks he's entitled to the girl because I'm Asian. He thinks I'm a pushover.
Yeah.
That is what I'm talking about. When you talk about that racism, I'm not denying that doesn't exist. People are going to be prejudiced. As long as there's these idiots that think that they're entitled to something, they're going to be like, what are you doing with a white woman? It's like, because I'm a man and I can, I'm just like you.
I am correct about the carnal mind connection.
You're correct. Yeah, you're not wrong. That's what I'm saying. So I want to tie it to people. This relates. That's what, like, here's the thing. There's no better indicator of the lustful, disgusting human condition than when you look at porn with the comments, because that's when people's BS come out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, porn knows no boundaries when it comes to racism.
Wait a minute. So there's porn and people put comments on the porn?
Well, they're videos, right? So you can leave comments. But I know you're laughing, but I have to acknowledge this because, like, when people are horny and they're watching porn, it's not right. But when people are, they're just leaving comments because your mind is now like unfiltered, and you leave the most racist, most disgusting, despicable, like, you reduce people to objects. Seriously. And that's why.
Let's go back to how this applies to Joey Villa, because I don't want to, people thinking, like, Joey Villa.
Too, but this is good. I know.
No, because seriously, we literally made that jump from Joey Villa into porn. That's not what I meant. I did not mean that Joey Villa. No, but my point is, they're withholding information from her the same way. Well, I don't know if they ever withheld information from Candace Owens, but she, from what I can tell, is not interested in ever learning about anything factual. She just wants to be the spokespiece. That's all she wants.
That's right.
But to me, it seems like Joey Villa is genuinely interested in learning, but nobody ever took the time to explain things to her. Nobody ever told her, like nobody ever broke down to her how the 1964 Civil Rights Act was a Jim Crow law. So she is still on the belief that, you know, MLK Jr. was a great dude and all this other stuff. So she really doesn't know real history. She doesn't. So, and that's why I'm afraid that she might turn out to be another Candace Owens, because she has no control over her speech. Right. And they are denying her the speech of others, the written word of others. Because I doubt that she knows the Bible like you. You know what I mean? Because, dude, I'm telling you now, that Romans was withheld from me for decades. And if I would have known that earlier, I would have figured out things way quicker.
Well, I said it, and then you heard it on a TV, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a sign.
Yeah, no, but then when you pulled it up, you know, when you had it out, I was like, because I remember I told you I had no idea where to find it because you can't find it anywhere. And then you found it. And so I looked it up. I was like, holy crap, this is insane. It literally said God has no power, because that answers the question. He doesn't control it. Because, you know,
he gave us free will. He gave us free will.
No, but see, but free will. But here's the thing. Free will doesn't mean, because come on, free will doesn't mean 100% bad. This world is 99% bad if you're from the streets. So, and I was like, yeah, we have the free will. How come no one's helping us? You know what I mean? It's like, what's going on? No, because think about this. This is all just recent. So Ohio, remember I told you, because see, people don't believe me when I tell you, when a man gets raped by another man, that's one of the worst news you could ever experience. It just came out because people don't believe me in my stories about what happened to us as kids. But this doctor at Ohio State, he molested or raped 177 men in a 20-year span while he was a doctor at Ohio State. And these athletes from 16 different sports. Dude, that's insane. Like, but you know, so now it just came out now. I guess that's a positive of the Me Too movement. Like now all these men can come forward and say, hey, yeah, man, this doctor did this, and the school knew about it. They just hid it. Just like how we were abused at my school. I wrote this big old letter, had all the students sign it, even because we were considered the exceptional kids, the smart ones. And when we got them 2 kids that got the perfect scores, even they signed it because they knew. I don't know if it happened to them, but everybody's like, yeah, I'm signing. You know what I mean?
Get me out of here.
No, but the school did nothing. That was just like the thing that used to just happen. And because we were all ghetto, and most athletes are ghetto. And they don't know, so they're submissive, which is why like people have to recognize like what porn does to people, like what the carnal mind is. And if God has no control over that, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Because the evil people know where to play.
Yeah.
And they play where you have no, you know, the broken homes, you know what I mean?
Dude, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The original.
But that's what happened. See, and that stuff doesn't happen where the families are intact. That the families are intact. And God, that's why
people in the South that have the Bible as a cornerstone of their weeks, dude, like they're doing well. Okay, so I sell on the phone, right? For people who don't know, in the Midwest, the people that I've talked to on the phone, bro, some of these people don't even believe in credit cards. They don't actually believe in debt. Yeah, they don't have any debt. It's bad.
Oh, because remember yesterday how we were talking about that? But you want to know who's the best example of the employer being the slave? Being a slave to your employer? Google.
That's true.
Google owns you. That you're there, they give you food.
You live on the campus.
Yeah.
Too.
And you're there. You're a slave to them. You're there 24 hours a day willingly. You are a willing slave to Google. It's insane. And you lose everything. Because I bet you those dudes, all they do is watch porn all day and get a little bit of work done, but they're making billions for that company. Like every individual could probably pull in like 50, 60 million.
Yeah.
They get very little.
That goes back to that whole skin in the game, being a slave, sweat equity, you know.
But going back to Joy Vila, because I want to be very clear, all I meant was she is being withheld information. Her free speech is being attacked by not just the left, but the progressives of the right who want to turn her into a Candace Owens. Because that's how it works. Because if Tulsi Gabbard said it happened to her, I'm quite positive it's not the same on the right. And it's the same thing. All of these people are preaching conservative values are false. They're false preachers. They're just preaching it, but they never give you a solution. They just say, do it. Well, how am I going to do it if God has no dominion over all of this evil that has, the carnal mind written all over it? You know what I mean? Because almost everything we do, our speech is our only way to fight off the carnal mind. It really is. Free speech is what stops the carnal mind. That's how it works. Why? Because and then people will say, well, how does that happen? Because the only way this guy got stopped was because over time people were talking about it, and then the first few guys, they just ignored it. But then somebody reported it to the thing, and then the medical board, looked back and said, yeah, you know what? We have one complaint. And because that one guy said something, all the other 177 people were validated. And then now they're going to look into these things more, because like Sandusky, remember Coach Sandusky, the guy from Penn, raping boys in the shower?
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. The guy from the Penn State, the Nittany Lions, that was like a major football program. And one of the coaches was literally having sex in the shower with boys, like young recruits. And that's the thing. And it's like, and they knew this was happening. So this is like a real thing. People don't get it. The only way to fight this type of stuff is through free speech. And if you can turn the ghettos into a playground, like the way they do at these universities for athletes, to get out. Because why do you think they coerce them with prostitutes and things like that, women? Because, you get addicted to that stuff.
You get addicted to it, and then you can't think for yourself. That's the bottom line. You're easily brainwashed. That's why I have to keep myself. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the whole point. See, and now, again, why is it important to get a kid addicted to sex? Because they are less likely to read, they are less likely to write. There's no need to read or write when someone's, sucking on your penis.
That's right. You don't do your homework, you don't think.
There is no need to.
And here's the thing, right? If you're not doing that, what's the other the next suitable alternative that's maybe not porn, but is also going to give you that sort of laze where you don't do anything? Video games. And we talked about the emotional response, people going crazy over video games. Like, it can't be good for you if you're getting that angry over video games. And dude, people.
No, but those sex video games too, with all the girls at the big brass and
all those role playing games. Man, I know guys who get addicted to those online role playing games. Man, like it's a drug. You don't think like. But anyways, we got to wrap this up, Professor Dreg. What's your final thoughts? Because this was great. I think that language, for fellow people, listeners who are out there, you got to pay attention to this. You have to learn to think for yourself. Don't necessarily take what pundits are saying at face value. It's also part of the reason why I slowly stopped just regurgitating right-wing talking points, because we're not helping anybody here.
Yeah, it's not. You're not helping anybody by, and I do wish that people like Joy Vila, whoever, honestly understand what conservatism really is. Because I don't want to sound like some kind of religious nut, but I'm telling you again, it goes hand in hand. That's why I believe the Bible was written as an instruction manual on how to live. Maybe not so much like, because I still don't understand how people confuse, like, where did the flat earth come from? It makes no sense, because it's not written anywhere that the earth is flat. It literally, like, you see this whole story about the 10 Commandments, and he went to heaven and the earth was a sphere, and I'm thinking, what? I thought they said the earth was flat. You know what I mean? But it's like, but that's my...
But here's the thing. If you know your history, flat earth, Professor Dreg, only one type of culture preaches flat earth. The ones that are proponents of, like, the progressive ideology. Because here's the thing. The Greeks obviously knew the earth was round. The Chinese knew that the earth was round long before Western civilization. The Mayans did. Like, what I'm trying to say is that the flat earth thing came out of I don't want to say the Catholic Church, but like the religious people. No, the religious people at the time in Western civilization.
No, but you're right. It was the Catholic Church because they tried to kill Galileo.
That's what I'm saying. And Galileo was like, "You guys are all morons. The Earth is round, and we've all known this for hundreds of years."
It was the Christian leadership that made all this mess. I'm telling you now, I'm not wrong, because I'm telling you, it's insane. They control the language.
I know there is damnable heresy that has happened within the church. Okay, and I'm not denying that, but it deviates from the word of God because there are people that take it and appropriate it as their own. So that's why language is an extremely important thing that we need to continue to dive into. Like we talk about street conservatism here as far as values and beliefs are, but how do you get people to understand and utilize this for themselves? They need to understand the language. They need to understand what speech is all about. All speech is constitutional. There's no such thing as unconstitutional speech. People need to get that through their heads. Just like it's always never necessary to have an abortion. It's the same thing.
But that's funny. Oh, not getting abortions unconstitutional.
God, these people are idiots. They don't. They just don't know. Like,
no, but it's amazing. But anyway, all right. But I really don't have any final thoughts because I don't think this ever ends.
It doesn't. We can keep talking about it. But thank you guys for listening to the American Made and Paid Show. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday.